Your Words Destroyed My Planet, the stream series. The edited version. Originally streamed live at twitch.tv/dualitysdownfall. More information in the description. Your Words Destroyed My Planet, Chapter 61. Karkat? Jane says gently. You look like you're about to burst a blood vessel or pass out. I'm fine. Why are you asking about me? I'm fine. You said that like it was a question, like you're not sure. You should probably be sure about how fine you are. You don't have time to be sure. You're too busy keeping track of everyone else. Solix still isn't dealing with the whole reason that he couldn't accept that Dave might be dead, which means now that Dave isn't dead, he's finding it even harder to justify the obvious thing he's refusing to think about. Solix feels responsible. Dave's mother was only there because she was trying to find Solix. It was Solix that Bro was reporting on. It was Solix who left early and made it so that Dave was so exposed when Mindfang showed up. Solix picked up Matuna and Psionic in a way that got her attention in the first place. Before all of that, she'd shown no interest in Dave since she left him. Without Solix, Dave would never have been in that situation. It's obvious, and it's entirely true. None of that makes it Solix's fault. You don't blame him. No one should. There wasn't anything he could have done, and you know that you could break Dave down to an atomic level and never find a single part of him that blames Solix at all. Unfortunately, you can feel guilt without actually being at fault in reality. Solix already dealt with survivor's guilt once. He clearly isn't willing to confront it again. But the thing is, Dave being back doesn't negate any of that. Solix doesn't have Dave's death on his hands now, but this was clearly unspeakably awful. Solix could evade thinking about it by trying to save Dave, but now what? He's not confronted any of that guilt. So, there he is, sitting on the floor with a bunch of tools and devices as he inspects past Dave's Earth palm husk, driving himself to distraction instead of thinking about it. Your Dave had been a good distraction from his guilt. At least, he was until the two of you accidentally spooked him. He bailed pretty quickly after that, so he'd taken the loss and gone back to the main area. You can't help Dave if he's not around to accept your help. You can't help Solix until he admits that he needs help, but you have to watch for the moment that he starts to crumble under everything. And you've also got to try to make sure that Dave's family doesn't panic Dave again. Also, you don't know where the haunted dog has gone, which is a sentence that you absolutely hate. Also, there's time travel Dave, who thankfully does not have the plague at least. I'm doing fine, you say, your voice tight. Jane bites her lip and gives you a look of pained concern. Could you sit down here with, Earth Dave and translate for him if Solix and I want to talk to him? Or if the others are speaking Spanish and we can't understand? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. The Striders probably want to talk without having to translate as they go. I can do that. You nod and sit down on the arm of Jane's armchair, putting you between her and Earth Dave. How's Dave doing? Solix told us some things, Dirk says, in a tone that suggests that what Solix said was likely not helpful. I'm curious about that too, Earth Dave says slowly. You translate for Jane and also for Solix. He was pretty angry about everything, Solix says, which means you have to translate that for everyone. Anger is a perfectly normal response. I'm angry. We're all angry, Rose points out. Angry enough that we scared him earlier, Hal mumbles. We should probably try to all be a little bit more low-key around him, Jane says after you translate. As much as we can be, anyway. He's our baby brother. It's hard to not just run up to him and grab him up and squeeze. Roxy agrees unhappily. He seemed pretty wary about having his arms touched, and, anything sharp, you say carefully, and glance at Solix, who cringes a little and covers his mouth with one hand. Rose looks down at her longish black nails. The polish on hers is chipped and clearly picked at from stress, but the shape of them is probably enough to make Dave jumpy if she touched him. Roxy is looking at her longer nails that are tackily bedazzled and long enough and sharp enough that they would scratch Dave's skin. You've no idea how she does her job with those, and she doesn't always have them, but when she does, they're gaudy as fuck. It's probably ironic. Stupid Strider family. I'm gonna go cut my nails. These ones were overdue to come off anyways, Roxy declares and gets up. I'm going to do the same. Thank you, Carcat, Rose says with a nod and follows her sister away. Hal looks at his hands for a moment and then looks up. I was trying to remember when I last cut my nails and forgot I only have to do that for one hand now. Solix told me that your bio father blew your arm off. I really can't tell which one it is. If that's not an asshole thing to bring up, I mean. Earth Dave says as he looks at Hal curiously. Equus did a really good job. Shut up, Dirk, Hal says, not even needing to look at Dirk to see the smug smile on his face. You don't even need to translate that, June sighs from her own chair. We know what they're like enough to guess, Jane agrees. I can send you the schematics if you want to see, Hal offers. No, I wouldn't understand any of it. My son Sam he was all about machines and stuff. Dave trails off sadly as the realization hits him again. That part hurts to translate for the others. We read up about him, actually. He seemed like a really cool guy. I'm sorry we never met him, Dirk says. He nearly lost his brother, so it's not hard to understand the pain that his great-grandfather is currently feeling. Could you tell Dave that we have a lot of good therapists on this ship? I'm sure we have several who speak Spanish. We can help him find someone if he wants. We're already going to have to get his physical health up to speed with vaccinations for modern illnesses, but his mental health is important too, Jane says, and you dutifully pass the message along. I don't even know how I'd do that. I'm not even a citizen of this ship. I'm probably not registered, and I know Solix said you're all, space communism here, but fuck, I'm gonna need to find somewhere to live, and I'm gonna need a job or something. Fuck, he curses. We'll find somewhere, but you can live with us until we get you set up elsewhere. You can have my room. I brought you here. If anyone should take you in, it's us, Solix points out in English after you switch Dave's Spanish to Alternian for the others. I'd say you could stay with me, but I moved back in with my dad and these two after some stuff, and Karkat moved into my room, so if you stayed with us, or Dirk, or Rox, or Rose, you'd be on someone's lounge blank, Hal says thoughtfully. Someone's what? Earth Dave asks after a moment's pause. Right, so languages change over time, and that was Alternian that slipped in there. He means sofa, you explain. I guess. Troll furniture's a little bit different, so calling the troll stuff lounge blanks makes sense compared to the sofa we had in our home when we were kids, Dirk says with a shrug. That's a linguistic nuance that you've made up. No one else knows that, you argue. Yeah, on that note, why is your Spanish so weird? I understand you fine, but it's odd, Dave asks. Mom's side comes from Spain, so she and Bro both spoke Spanish, but it wasn't the same, Dirk tells him. That's why you sound weirdly Google translated at times. Okay, fair. I mean, it's not like I don't know what you're saying, but it feels like an odd way to say it, or a weird word choice. Earth Dave nods. I'm going to use ghost powers to go back in time and punch everyone who designed this garbage tech in the fucking bulge, Solix hisses to himself as he fights with his accumulated tech on the floor around him. You hesitate on translating that, but eventually you have to. Although you have to clumsily work around not just using the word bulge in Alternian. The Spanish for all troll anatomy is straight up loan words, unless you're dealing with parts that are basically the same or there was already a word for it. So, blood for trolls is the same for human blood in Spanish, but when you get to organs that are troll-specific, you end up with Alternian words. which means you end up with the weirdly clinical external troll genitals. Earth Dave looks at you for a moment, your face reflected in his mirrored sunglasses. You can see the familiar look of a stupid string of words not yet unleashed, so you try to prepare yourself. On that note, I was kind of surprised to find you didn't all look the same. Well, as much as humans look alike. Your horns are all different, and he's glowing for reasons that I'd thought were to do with weird time travel ghost shit, but apparently aren't. Earth Dave says, gesturing at Solix. Are you asking for a brief rundown of how my species works? You ask, instead of simply launching into it like you would have as a teenager. I appreciate any chance to be less confused about everything around me, so please do. He nods. You start on a brief intro into what the hemospectrum is, how signs work, what the cultural baggage of those is, and so on. Because of Solix, you decide to take a detour into the variety of psionics and what groups tend to get them and why, enough to help this Dave to understand why Solix's eyes glow, but no one else here has that. You explain how you're not mammals, but there's a kind of convergent evolution to this sort of shape, and functionally a lot of your anatomy is basically the same, so you're not as alien to each other as you might expect. Of course, that means that you do have to explain the life cycle of trolls, and Jane is actually very helpful here in explaining how troll grubs are produced from the mother grub and how they're raised. The explanation process does mean that translation is shifted from you to Dirk, so that Jane can add her thoughts and so June knows what's going on. I'm sorry, fucking giant animals? You're fucking with me. He finally interrupts. You shake your head and pull up a photo of you and Cancry with Crab Dad when you were little, and with a little bit of prompting and translating, you get Solix to also get a picture of Biclops' dad. How does that work? How do you learn to talk or anything? How do they know how to look after you? What the fuck? What are you looking up? Dave demands, looking at Hal, who is also scrolling on his palm husk. I'm looking up something else for you. We weren't raised by Lucii, obviously, though they'd have been better than our biological parents for sure. Hal snorts. I feel kind of weird knowing you guys hatched from eggs. I guess we were eggs, since that's how pregnancy works, but you're telling me you don't have parents or family? Wait, no, there was another kid in that picture you showed me. Dave says, and reaches for your palm husk again. That's Cancry. We have the same ancestor, so that's the closest genetic relative we have, but it's not really a parent thing. It's pretty rare for people to raise their own descendants, and in my experience, a bad one. You mutter that last bit. So, is he family to you? Like a brother? Dave asks. It depends. We lived together when we grew up. That often doesn't happen, so we're closer than most people who share an ancestor, and even then I've only started getting on with him recently. But I'd say that for Solix and his ancestor Matuna, it's more accurate. They're as drive each other nuts kind of close as you'd expect siblings to be. You explain. Solix doesn't speak Spanish, but he can hear his own name and Matuna's name, so when he speaks to Dave again, it's in English, and you do him the favor of not translating this particular aside for anyone else. Matuna's dead. He's the ghost that looks like me, Solix says softly. Oh, I'm sorry, Dave whispers. It's fine. I can talk to him again now, Solix shrugs. You continue the conversation in Spanish like nothing happened. I get that it can probably be a little jarring. Humans naturally have a lot of family history, and for most trolls, they don't know who their ancestors are at all. Accepting how another species sees that sort of thing is often a sticking point in human and troll romantic relationships, or even friendships, especially when there's talk of having a family together or not. Not to mention that being a part of a human's extended family by proxy can be a lot for some trolls. It's not a problem with our family. Me and Solix work together. We're friends already, and they've all been friends since they were kids. We're fine. Dad basically thinks the pair of them are very sweet. Hal says teasingly, then goes back to his palm husk. Right. Dave nods, and then looks at you for a moment. Jane launches into an explanation of how family history can work for trolls, and how the pairing of siblings worked for your friend group, and the debates on how that works as a model in comparison to letting the mother grub generate offspring at random. You translate all of this for her, and she even pulls up a few academic texts with diagrams that she can point to. She talks about the idea of genetic lines being like families, and how she personally thinks that method is better. Dave does seem interested, but something's not quite right. You wait, because it feels like he wants to ask something, but you don't know what. But how does that even work, though? He asks. Having a family? You check, because that wasn't very clear. Sure, like the process, Dave says carefully. Oh, well, there's adoption, and parental leave is granted regardless. Of course, there's also surrogacy or IVF if you're going with a human baby instead. With adoption, you could either pick a human child from a foster system, like the Striders, or you can adopt a troll. There's no rules on your species barring you from which you can take in if you're having kids, just if you're a good fit or not. You explain. You've had to explain about this to people before, and you are very firm on parental rights from an HR point of view. Right. No, of course. That's great. Dave smiles awkwardly. Here, Hal says, and tosses his palm husk at Dave, who thankfully catches it, instead of fumbling it and dropping it on Solix's head. What are you start. Giving him the answers to the questions he's really asking, Dirk says smugly. I'm sorry, you're linking him guides when I, an actual troll, am here to answer from my lived experience? Or you as an adoptee? Seriously? You snap. Oh my god, Dave says quietly. Listen, we just understand this better than you do, Hal says sweetly. You do, at least, Dirk shoots back. Oh my god, no, really? Dave gasps, and you see him tilt his head and stare at the screen, as if he can't quite understand what he's seeing. I turned the audio off for you. You're welcome, Hal snickers. A horrible idea is forming in your think sponge, and you don't like it one bit, but you know Striders well enough to know bullshit when you see it. What did he show you? You demand to know, reaching over his chair to get to the phone or palm husk. We're having a choose your own noun moment. You get both? Dave demands in a tone of horrified outrage, like he got shortchanged. Both, Hal nods. What are we talking about? Solix asks, looking up from what he was doing with all that tech on the floor. Trolls get both? Dave asks Solix, this time in English. Both what? Solix says, only for his eyes to widen when Dave turns the palm husk around to show him. They're showing him naked trolls, aren't they? You ask Solix in Alternian with a sigh. He nods and rolls his eyes before going back to what he was doing. Look, if you ran into a whole new species as an adult, I'm sure you'd be curious too. Hal says tartly, back in Spanish now. You mean like that entirely new species that I was just meeting for the first time literally this month and haven't even once looked up what they look like naked? Like that, you mean? You argue back. Yeah, okay, but none of your family are dating any of those aliens. Hal points out. It's human nature. Dirk agrees with a simple shrug. Jane asks what you're all talking about, and Dirk translates for her immediately, because he has no shame at all. Fuck me, I'm so jealous, Dave whispers as he continues to scroll down the screen. I think this is less of a universal truth than it is a condemnation of the deviancy that shows up in your entire family genetics, you retort. I've looked up what carapacian anatomy is like, but only in case I need to provide medical care. I've not been eyeballing alien bits for fun. Jane defends herself hotly. Thank you! Another normal person! you say gratefully. Across the way, you hear June giggling in her seat, and you know immediately that she's gone and looked up what the aliens look like naked. Your suspicions are confirmed when Hal leans over and fist bumps her. Okay, fine. It's not DNA. You're all just weirdos. You groan. The accusation is made all the stronger by the fact that Dave is still looking at the palm husk with rapt attention. Oh my god. This guy is a split... what was the troll word for it? He's got like two... Is that a body mod? Dave gasps. Nah, the gold bloods tend to bifurcate a little. It shows up in the horns, but also other places too. It's mostly just a split, like Solix's tongue, but... Hal trails off with a mischievous grin on his face. No one has two bulges. For some of them, the split goes pretty deep down, but that's just bullshit video editing or body mods. Dirk says flatly. You're not saying anything. You're not even going to think anything. Not even a little bit. Solix has claimed otherwise before, Hal says with a sly grin. Do you know how many golds say that? Just because Solix pluralizes it doesn't mean he's... Dirk trails off, but you can feel him looking at you. You're very firmly not looking at him or at anyone. What are you all saying about me? Solix asks in Alternian. I was just asking about this, and they were saying that some people who are your color say they have too, but they mean like this. Dave explains, and presumably shows Solix the screen again. Solix snickers in a distressingly filthy kind of way. You're absolutely looking at the other side of the room right now. Perhaps your Dave might come back into the main room from one of those doorways over there. Better look at him to check. Yeah, no way. He's just saying he does because I don't want the proof. Also, I can't ask Dave because I'm not actually sure when Dave is telling the truth now. Dirk says. Except Carcat is bright red and not looking at anyone, Dave points out. Hey, Hal says, and switches back to Alternian. Jane, didn't you do Solix's medical examination before he went to Somnos?
I did, but it would be a huge breach of medical ethics for me to comment anything about that,
Jane says in a rush, her cheeks darkening. They're asking Jane because she was my doctor one time, Solix explains, since you've stopped translating. No way, Dirk whispers. So? Dave says curiously. Ask my Dave if you care so much. Also, here, this has all of your stuff backed up on it now, and it should run a good Alternian Spanish translator. I don't know which Spanish it is, but that should help you. It'll also translate any text for anything you look up, and if you take a picture by hitting that, then you can get it to translate stuff that you're looking at in person. Solix says, and hands Earth Dave his devices back. He puts down Hal's palm husk and takes his own back, though you seize the opportunity to get pictures of naked trolls out of this situation by tossing Hal his palm husk back. Why must so many conversations with Striders get so mortifying? Why? I don't know how well your old tech is going to work here, so everything is copied just in case. The battery definitely won't last until we're out of quarantine, but when we're out of here, I'll see if I can find a cable that might charge it. Until then, you've got this now. Solix goes on, tapping at the tablet screen to show Dave what's there. Can you talk in your language and show me how it works? He asks. Press here, and then... Yeah, okay, so now it's listening to me. It's reasonably decent at picking out different voices, but you're gonna run into trouble if you've got Hal and Dirk talking, since they sound so similar. It's also not too good with some names, but me and Hal can try to program some better learning software into it. Solix explains. You lean over as he talks and see that it is translating him just fine. There's a delay as it works out the grammar and conjugation of things, but it's working. I can mesh my autoresponder into it. That's better with names and weird voices. It's good with background noise because people decide to log IT calls when operating a fucking blender for some reason. Fuck, I hate people. Hal bitches. Wait, I forgot. You work in space IT too, right? Dave gasps. Work is overselling it. Solix says with a shitty grin. Just because I am smart enough to automate my... Dave! Hal gasps. Automate your Dave? You repeat, and then realize that Hal is staring across the room. You look over and see that Dave has come back. It seems that Rose and Roxy found him because he's walking in with them. Dave seems tense, but he is talking to them as he walks. Rose gestures at your group, and you see Dave look your way. He hesitates, and you wave at him weakly. You really want to see him again, but you also don't want to push him into doing anything that's going to overwhelm him. How do I make it translate what I say? Earth Dave asks Solix in English. Press this as you speak. When you're done, tap here, and it'll say what you said in Alternian. Solix answers, taking his eyes off of your Dave to answer. We need to not panic him, Dirk says quietly as Dave starts walking over with his sisters. Really? That was totally counter to my plans. Thank God you said something. Hal hisses back. Pretty much not this exact energy, June says with a smile that doesn't carry into her warning tone of voice. You found a Dave, Jane says cheerily as Dave, Rose, and Roxy come close. Found a Dave? Oh, yeah, I guess there's more than one of us now. Dave says, looking at his great-grandfather. I put something together to translate Alternian for him, Solix explains. I guess I don't need to if I'm talking to him, Earth Dave says thoughtfully. Except these three don't understand Spanish, you say, and point to Jane, June, and Solix. I was going to sit down, unless you wanted the seat, Roxy offers her brother. Dave shakes his head and wraps his arms tightly around himself, his hands on his biceps in a way that avoids touching his forearms. Roxy returns to her seat, but Rose perches on the other arm of Jane's armchair. She's pretty crowded in, with you on one side and Rose on the other. Rose, she said you did a whole bunch of photos at the funeral, but you also let them use a super serious and dorky sailor photo of me, too. I can't believe you did me like that. Dave jokes weakly. Don't die and it won't be a problem, June says bluntly. I won't die again, Dave nods. Please, Rose says, her voice a little weak. Did this translate wrong? It says you said you died, Earth Dave says, the translator spitting out the Alternian as soon as he's done speaking. I didn't die, I was joking. They thought I was dead. Pretty sure I'm not dead, anyway. Am I good, Jane? Dave says with a slight smile. I think I can diagnose you with being alive, Jane smiles. How are you alive, anyway? I'm not sure I understand what happened, Earth Dave asks, and your Dave obviously tenses up a little more.
Maybe we don't need to talk about this right now, Roxy says quickly.
It's not like I even know the answer. It's all Solix's balancer stuff and that magic door, Dave shrugs. You missed out on a topic of crucial debate earlier, Dirk interrupts smoothly, and although you know where he's going, you're glad for the diversion. We were discussing a matter of incredible importance.
I'm incredibly skeptical,
Rose says flatly. I'm massively suspicious, but go on, Dave nods. We were catching our great-grandfather here up on the wonders of living with aliens, Dirk continues.
Why do I have a feeling that I know where this is going?
Roxy says suspiciously. Because I'm pretty sure you've talked about Sarava with them already. Oh hey, it translated their name correctly, that's cool, Solix notes, switching from talking to Roxy to glancing at the translator in Earth Dave's hands. We just covered the basics of troll society and biology, specifically anatomy with Goldbloods and how they have a lot of bifurcation. Dirk continues innocently. I said how just because Goldbloods often say they have two, it doesn't mean they actually do. It's just because there's a split there. Hal adds. You know I don't save footage from my eyes without permission, and even if I did save footage of them, I wouldn't share it with other people, Dave says simply. When you say them, do you mean Karkat and Solix, or both of... Roxy asks, wide-eyed. You cover your face with your hands as several people around you all say both at the same time. Dave and Solix included, of course. Well, that many people saying the same thing upset it. Earth Dave notes, and you look at his translator screen instead of acknowledging any of that, but you can still see Solix's wildly smug expression in your peripheral vision. You two owe me $5, Hal chirps delightedly. I'd say that's not enough proof, but I really don't want more proof. Dirk sighs and taps at his palm husk screen, prompting a small noise of an incoming credit transaction to come from Hal's palm husk. Hey, speak for yourself, but sure. Roxy giggles and taps her own screen. Nuh-uh, I've got dibs on Solix, Dave says firmly. Ah, yes. The age-old rule of I licked it, it's mine in play, I see. Rose says thoughtfully. A startled laugh bursts out of Dave, and it's the most alive and happy you've seen him since he came back. It warms your heart to see, and Rose looks delighted at having caused it. God damn, I missed you so much. I'm so happy that I have to sit in mortifying conversations like this with you again. Sincerely, I really am. You tell Dave, honestly. A future without this kind of nonsense in it had seemed so terribly bleak. So, on that topic, Earth Dave says slowly, making Solix look at him with disbelief, like he thinks that the guy is going to immediately start talking about his junk again. Actually, this is still a Dave Stratter. You're not ruling anything out. Did you know he could do that? Launch through space and time to get people like that? Earth Dave continues, not talking about Solix's bulges. Probably, unless this is a really obscure innuendo. Again, not ruling that out. We knew he could get to you, but not like that. One time we saw one of his dreams that went to you. You were on an island, and Bro was yelling at you even though you couldn't see him. He was really upset that you didn't think the things he wanted you to. That was satisfying to watch. Dave says, with a malicious edge to his voice when he talks about Bro. I've gotta agree with you there. Seeing how upset Bro was when he was saying about how awful it was to treat your kids so terribly. I'd have paid money to see that, and we got it for free. You grin meanly. You got it for the price of me having an agonizing migraine, Solix says indignantly. Yeah, so you paid that price. Karkat was fine. June laughs, making Solix flip her off. But him being able to do that isn't weird to you? Earth Dave asks. Oh, no, don't get me wrong. Balancers sometimes have their own little abilities, like the jump through space that I can do. Although, I guess other people can do that without me being involved, and Karkat had his weird visions. That sort of stuff is rare, but not totally unheard of. But Solix doing that is way off of the scale. Dave explains. You're about to ask what other abilities people have when you're interrupted. Not by Dave, but by Beck. He trots into the room with an unopened bag of chips in his mouth. He stops at Dave's side and smacks him in the leg with it when he doesn't immediately take them. I'm good, buddy. Dave gives in almost immediately and takes the bag, making Beck run off again. Anyone want these? He asks as he wipes the dog spit off the packaging. June says she'll take them, so Dave tosses the packet her way. Not hungry? Earth Dave asks his great-grandson. Dave holds up his hand in response. His bruised and cut fingertips make you wince just to see them. Literal salt in the wound, man. Right. So, okay, if Solix is just weird and we're excluding him, then what about you? How did you rip a spaceship open, Dave? Earth Dave asks, and Dave's family all goes tense. They have the good sense to know not to talk about certain things. I probably wasn't translating all that well when Dave was explaining that bit to Nepeta before. You apologize in a hasty attempt to save this train wreck. So, because of all the angry ghosts on the ship and because of how close they were to the Void, Dave was able to use his motif to call the Void to the ship. It was the Void that tore the ship open, or that and the ghosts, not Dave, right? I don't know if this isn't working or if I don't know what you're talking about. He used his what? Earth Dave asks. Your Dave is distracted by Beck returning with a bottle of water and nudging Dave with it. His motif. My understanding is kind of shaky, but it's sort of a specific song that's tied to you somehow, and it makes you do your kind of balancing to an extreme. I guess that the song you used was yours, Solix. Don't try it again, just in case, but that's about all I know. I'm new to this. You explain. Probably. I'm not gonna do that again anytime soon, or ever. I think Nepeta might lose her shit if I do. Solix agrees. Dave sits down and opens the bottle of water and has a sip as if to prove that he's looking after himself. Beck lays down next to him with his chin on Dave's knee as he lovingly looks up at Dave. You're saying that's a thing that's normal for you to do? Earth Dave says slowly. You're not sure if he's addressing that to you or to his great-grandson specifically. He is staring right at Dave, so probably him. Nah, man. Normally destroy the ship I'm on and kill everyone aboard is kind of at the bottom of my ranking chart of things I want to do. Dave says sharply, and you swear the room just got colder from the look that Dave's giving his ancestor. Hey, whoa, that wasn't what I meant. I can't do that kind of thing. That's not what I meant. It's not normal for me. No one else knew about your dog, but I could see what he was. That's normal for me. I'm trying to work out what's different. Earth Dave says, as soon as his screen is done translating. Have fun with that. Dave says simply, and pets Beck. What? Earth Dave says quietly. I said have fun. It's not my problem anymore. I've done enough. Dave snaps at him, and in Spanish too, just so he's not misunderstood.
I think you're entirely right, Dave. You don't have to worry about those things now. You should never have had to worry about any of it.
Rose says softly, and you see Dave relax by degrees. Earth Dave looks a little alarmed by all of this, and several of Dave's siblings are giving him a look that begs him to drop this line of conversation. Hey, you should have seen Hal's face when you were talking to Equius before. Dirk says conspiratorially, leaning over the arm of the lounge plank to talk to his brother. Yeah? Dave murmurs, his eyes on Beck as he scratches at the fur behind his ears. Bright red. Embarrassingly so. Dirk says with a smirk. Oh yeah? Dave smiles softly, his eyes still on Beck as he pets him soothingly. It's kind of Beck's job, and you're glad it's still working for Dave. You're glad that his problem with touch isn't keeping him from Beck. Yeah, well, it didn't work out so great for you when you realized how it sounded when Eck was telling you how good you were being and shit like that. Hal mutters, clearly playing up how annoyed he is by this.
Aw, is that not the reaction you give Equius when he says that kind of stuff?
Roxy asks innocently. Roxy! Hal squawks, definitely not faking that reaction at all. He is, in fact, bright red.
Karkat, is there nothing you can do for Hal from an HR standpoint? This seems so cruel.
Rose asks, entirely insincerely. They don't work together. This is a social interaction when they're all off the clock. Also, I don't work for HR anymore, so kink shame your brother all you like. It's no skin off my globes. You snort.
You could tell on them to Dad, but then you have to have this conversation with Dad.
Jane teases. Hal continues being sometimes exaggeratedly outraged and sometimes actually embarrassed for the sake of moving the conversation back to normal. Earth Dave is watching the conversation silently, his eyes flicking between his great-grandkids and his translator screen. Your Dave, on the other hand, seems to be a million miles away, petting Beck methodically and carefully, his fingers tracing little paths through his thick white fur. Have you talked to Cotard at all? You ask Dave quietly, leaning down a little to do so. No, I should get to a computer to do that or whatever. Ugh, I don't know where my palm husk is right now. Dave says with a grimace. I'm not sure either. Solix had it for a bit when we were first looking for you, but after that, I'd assume it went to Nepeta or Aradia. Maybe they gave it to your dad. I wasn't really thinking about it. You say. Dave's face takes on the look of someone remembering just what is saved on their palm husk and is sincerely hoping their parent doesn't have access to that. "Do you want to borrow mine?" You offer and hold it out for him. "Want is a strong word," Dave mumbles, but takes it anyway. You bet that Cotard will have already sent Dave a message, or at least is waiting by his palm husk in case Dave contacts him. For how much Dave is typing and how there are pauses in there, you think he's actively messaging him and getting responses. Behind you, Earth Dave asks if there's such a thing as Space Google, and you get several minutes of completely deadpan bullshitting about that being exactly what you have. It's definitely called Space Google. Trademark. You figured it out. You're not that interested, nor are you all that invested in the debate about whether it's going to be too much of a culture shock to let him have access to the internet, especially given what Hal already showed him. What you are interested in is Rose's quiet conversation with her twin. She is rightfully the closest to Dave, and though things have been fraught since everything came out about ghosts, she does love him dearly. "Can I pet Beck too?" Rose asks gently. Dave nods, but doesn't look up from your palm husk. His eyes only move away from it when Rose carefully eases herself off of the arm of the chair that she's on and onto the floor with Dave. Keeping her movements slow, Rose pets the docile and apparently haunted dog. "It's weird to think that he's haunted," Rose says quietly, and runs her fingers along Beck's snout and up between his eyes. She pauses at his forehead to scratch him slightly and then starts over. "Everything's weird," Dave shrugs. "It is," Rose agrees. "I kind of like it, you know, 'cause it's Laika. I wonder if the two of them found me, or if I named myself that because I could tell somehow," Dave murmurs, lowering your palm husk to look at Beck. "I wish I could have helped more, but I'm happy that they did," Rose tells him, her voice getting tight with emotion. "I don't know, it's like they knew and loved me. You didn't need to, even if I still told you some of..." Dave's eyes flicker to the triplets, the unsaid point that Dave told Rose more about his parents' experiments as a child is still very clearly made. Rose's hand is above Beck, as if she was going to pet him, but really she wants to reach for Dave instead. She doesn't dare to touch him more than any of the rest of you do. The last thing anyone wants is to scare him just so that you can comfort yourselves. Dave is watching her, but you can't tell what his expression means. He's got that poker face again. He's had it more in this last conversation than you've seen in a long time. Unless he's obviously emoting, he's pretty locked down into neutral Strider cool, which likely means that the emotions he does show you are pretty deliberate too. He hadn't seemed so guarded when it was just you and Solix, so you're going to guess this is because he's aware that people are watching him. You get why that would set him on edge. Dave doesn't say anything, but instead he pats the ground by his side and looks at Rose. She seems surprised, but gets his meaning before you do. Rose moves and carefully sits down at Dave's side. She goes back to petting Beck, and Dave goes back to typing away on your palm husk. You still catch the way he leans against her arm a little. It's a small amount of contact, but you know how much it means. Fuck, how are you going to fix this? Obviously, you can assist Dave in recovering from this trauma. You can encourage him to go to his therapist, take medication if he has to. You can offer to support him if he needs to hold you accountable for steps he's trying to take. Things like his therapist telling him to notice if he's talking about something a certain way. You can offer to help him notice that when he does it. Obviously, you can do all of that. But how are you going to fix this long term? There's still the as-yet unexploded hand grenade of everyone finding out that balancing isn't secret in carapacian culture. Even without your clusterfuck of a virus, people are going to know on all ships. Is that going to be a good thing? It could be. A point of dramatic change can be good, but it's not as if change is always positive, is it? If you're gonna be a pessimistic fucker, then there's every chance that things are about to get rapidly worse. You're really not in a good place for everything to get worse. Dave is out. Solix is nowhere near as fine as he thinks he is. Gamzee was holding on in honor of Dave, but you doubt that a guy who cries in relief at his friend's death is doing well. Comparatively, you and Aradia are doing well, but you both tend to be fine, despite the agonizing weight of everything you're carrying. You know, in a way that's definitely not fine. Hardly an ideal psychological lineup for shit to go to hell in a handbasket. Rose's quiet and delicate laughter pulls you out of your gloomy thoughts. She's looking at your palm husk as Dave speedily types away. At least his fingers don't hurt enough to stop him doing that, you guess. Then again, glass isn't salty like chips or texturally uneven like clothing. It's probably easier to ignore and push through. Wow, KK, that's so nice of you, Solix says smugly. What's nice of me? You ask suspiciously. This message you just sent me, saying about how you admit that I'm right about the proper resolution for the TV, and how you admit that I'm better than you at all games. Oh, and... Solix trails off with his eyes fixed on the screen for several seconds before he looks up at you with a grin. Cool. I'll hold you to that promise. Do you see my palm husk in my hands? You demand, holding your empty hands out. Excuses, Carcat. Rose tuts. Will you stop causing trouble? That's not what I gave you my palm husk for. You hiss at Dave. I'll stop in a minute. I just need to finish this, Dave says, drawing out the word. Oh my goodness, Rose whispers, looking over his shoulder. There. Okay, I'm logging out. You can have it back. Rose, want to help Dad cook? I don't know that he is cooking, but it's Dad and there's people in a kitchen, so obviously he's gonna be, Dave says as he taps at the screen and then tosses you your palm husk back. What did you do? You ask him suspiciously. Solix hasn't reacted with smug delight at any more things that you have promised or confessed, so what else was he doing? Dirk's palm husk pings, and he elbows Hal in the side to lean over and get it from his pocket, causing the amount of squabbling that you'd expect. Got my therapy arranged. He's just got to talk to Nep to work out if he's coming here with the puppies or if it's got to be a call or whatevs. Not my problem. So, food? Dave directs that last part at Rose. Rose nods and gets up. Dave follows her, and the two go without another word. Beck senses that he's not going to get fussed over without the twins there, and hastily follows after them. You peer at your palm husk, but you have no clues. Dave signed back out of everything, and even closed the applications that he had open. Oh, that's... I'm glad I don't work in PR or communications, Dirk says in a slightly strangled voice. Why? You ask worriedly. Check chitter, Dirk tells you. What's that? Earth Dave asks curiously. It's kind of like human Twitter, only the troll one didn't get run into the ground by a guy who got blown up in his own spaceship because he built them as well as his cars, Roxy tells him quickly. Fuck Elon. Show me space Twitter, Solix, Earth Dave demands. I didn't give you that translator so you could bug me for things by putting space in front of anything you want, Solix argues. Shut up, Space Solix, and show me space Twitter, Earth Dave insists. I like this guy, Jane grins. I'm wondering what it says about this sense of humor and if it's a genetic thing. I kind of want to look at your DNA now, June muses. You guess that epigenetics is her thing, though you doubt it covers this. You decide to just log yourself into Chitter. It's suspicious that you were logged out in the first place, and... Oh, no. Even if you didn't already follow Dave's account, an account that has been mostly inactive since your little bout of treason making his information public, even if you weren't following that account, you'd still see his post. It's the top trending already, and the numbers are climbing higher before your eyes. I'm not dead, y'all can suck it. Oh my fucking god, Dave, why would you do that? You hiss in absolute horror. It's succinct, I'll give him that, Earth Dave says with a shrug. Yeah, I really want to study your DNA now, June laughs. Actually, I would be interested in that. Comparing me to everyone else, it'd be very interesting to see Dave v. Dave matchup, Earth Dave says slowly. I doubt Dave's gonna agree to let anyone do any kind of science on him anytime soon. Dirk warns all of you, and yeah, that's something of a downer to remember. Doesn't matter. I have his DNA on file. I have everyone's. June shrugs.
I remember you got yours, mine, and Dad's for a project for your undergraduate work, but I don't remember you getting everyone else's,
Jane says with a frown. I'm suddenly suspicious of hairbrushes that I lost years ago, Dirk says slowly, not helped by June's widening yet terrifyingly silent smile. Do you have mine? Solix asks after a second, and June nods. Was it from that one time you dared me to lick one of your stupid weird flavor sweets in school? A magician never reveals her secrets, June insists. A scientist with ethical oversight should, however, Jane insists. Oh, chill. Obviously I'd ask before doing anything with it. I just stole it for comedy reasons. But yeah, I'd love to compare you and Dave, if he agrees, June says, a little more seriously. Your Trollian pings the moment that you sign back in. It's Cancri. You might not be that kind of psychic, but you get the feeling that this is going to be bad, and you know what it's about. Ah, fuck. There's a wall of text already.
Karkat, I do not wish to hassle you so recently after such an emotional moment. I wasn't at Dave's funeral myself, but I was watching footage of it. I hadn't wished to insert myself into a very personal event when I hadn't been invited, and I wasn't even sure if Dave would have wanted me there. Equally, I was considering whether attending a sailor funeral held some kind of implicit approval of sailor culture and its inherent exploitative features. And I want to state up front that I entirely understand that you are likely busy with both the emotional weight of what appears to be a dramatic turn of events, resulting in Dave improbably not being dead, as we had all feared. But also, I expect that you are busy as a sailor, non-derogatory, and that you are likely involved in decisions about what is happening now and what can, should, or will be done about the vast number of ghosts currently occupying this ship. I am taking all that into consideration, and I fully understand if you are unable to answer me right away. However, this is a matter of some urgency regarding Dave's Chitter account and his most recent tweet. It has caused an incredible stir and a lot of discussion and debate, including whether or not it is to the benefit of the ship as a whole that a clearly traumatized Dave is permitted to post at this time, especially given what he chose to post.
In short, what the fuck?
Yes, Karkat. Respectfully and empathetically. What the fuck, indeed.
I lent Dave my palm husk so that he could talk to his therapist and schedule an appointment. An appointment he clearly needs, and since I don't know where his palm husk is, that's the choice I had. I wasn't expecting him to do that. Although, I'm not massively surprised. This is Dave.
I don't really approve of the sexual connotations in his message. Plenty of people are sensitive to that kind of thing. Also, it presents an inherent denigration of the people doing the aforementioned sucking that is both inappropriate for a public forum, is potentially shaming others, and possibly broadcasting his own views in a way that the public really doesn't need to be privy to.
Take it as a sign of great personal growth that I'm not detailing Dave's views or history with oral sex just to annoy you.
Thank you, I suppose?
You're welcome. My boyfriend isn't dead. I'm magnanimous to a fault. I actually did want to talk to you about Dave, and not on his views on blowjobs.
You see, you say that, and I feel that you're still straying close to the topic for your own amusement. I will be the better person and ignore it. I wanted to talk to you about more than Dave's public relations nightmare post anyway. do go on, specifically on the topic of what you had originally wanted to talk about, not the other thing.
I will not derail this conversation, no matter how incredibly funny it would be. I'm determined to not do that. I wanted to talk to you about balancers in general, and also about the carapacians.
I have absolutely no idea why those topics would overlap, since there is no public information that would suggest that these are linked in any way, Karkat. I am going to publicly state, in text, on this very subpoenaable recorded conversation, that I have no idea why you would mention these together. Also, that I suspect that you are probably bringing up such a non sequitur in conversation as some way to loop around to being crude again.
Oh, so Kankri already knows about this, but also shouldn't know about this. Or perhaps he just shouldn't be talking to you about it in a Trollian message. Asking for reasons entirely related to crime, you can completely erase all records of a Trollian conversation if you want to, right? You ask Solix. Solix gives you the self-assured and cocky look that you knew he would as he brags, "Of course I can. Anyway, after what you just messaged me, I'd definitely do that for you if you wanted." You're not even sure that you dare to look at what Dave messaged him on your account. Solix says that he can erase all traces of this conversation like it never happened.
Oh, well, in that case, yes. The fact that the carapacian culture around balancers is entirely different to our own, and not at all secret, is going to massively change things on all ships in the fleet. There's no way we'll be under the critical mass needed to keep a secret so big a secret. Everyone will know. Right, that's what I was thinking. I just don't know what that means for us. I need to know how they do it, and if it's different from us. It wasn't really high on my list of things to ask about, what with Dave being dead and then not dead. Also, Dave's great-grandfather is here, and I'm getting the impression that how he did his balancer work on Earth is entirely different from what we're doing, so I don't understand what that means for us, or what's going to happen now. We really need more information, but this has the potential to go very badly. You've all displayed a great deal of very alarming power, and the idea of there being more of you, people whose powers we don't even understand, that could be received very badly indeed. But then again, the quest for information is not a morally neutral act either.
What do you mean? Oh, fuck, you mean that people might want to study us and them?
Quite. Do people get a choice on that? Or a choice in what is done with the information if they do agree? Can it be a free choice given the situation? It certainly isn't so black and white as learning nothing and going full Dr. Lalonde, but we need to question our decisions very carefully, lest we slide that way.
I really don't want to bring that up to Dave. I really don't think he'll take it well. Honestly, I don't think I'll take it well. It's one thing letting Equius look at Solix's think sponge when his dreams were hurting him, but a full study is something else.
At what point is research an ethical crime? What do we owe other people and future generations? These are hardly easy questions. If there are more balancers in the carapacian population, then does that mean that a terrible burden shared more lightly over a greater number is a better thing, or are you damning more people? We stand on an ethical trolley problem, except that the people on the line are my loved ones, and the trolley is a spaceship that is chased by a terrible and all-consuming void.
It's a weird variation of that thought experiment, yeah.
I won't let the metaphorical trolley/ship run you over, Karkat. We will not go the way of Dr. Lalonde. I will do everything I can to ensure that much. I know that you are dealing with a great deal of emotional weight, but if you give me whatever information you are able to find out, then I will do what work I can to protect you and the other balancers. I believe that we can make things better. It will take a lot of work, but I believe in a better future.
That really means a lot, Kankri. And also, our ancestor is visible and audible to other people now, too. Once he's finished seeing Disciple and losing his mind over being able to talk to her in Psionic again, I'm sure he'll come find you. Or if he comes to me, I'll send him to you. Then you two can talk in person at last. I'm pretty sure he'd be proud of you.
That means a great deal, Karkat, but I believe that he is proud of you, too. I realize that I've talked a great deal, and I should probably let you go. I apologize for going on so much.
Look at that. Personal growth for the both of us.
Karkat, I know you have to delete this message for the sake of both of us, so allow me to say this.
Shut up, asshole.
Oh my god! Holy fuck! You shriek in disbelief and throw your palm husk at Solix, unable to believe what you just read. Solix scrolls with a look of mild interest until he gets to the bottom, and reacts with just as much shock and alarm as you. He is aware that I can screenshot a small section of that and still delete the rest of the text, right?
Oh, fuck, but then he claimed we edited it.
Wow, your whole genetic line is just chaos incarnate underneath a polite outside, aren't you? Wow, Solix whispers in awe. You see him screenshot that part and then dutifully erase the whole conversation from existence. You still can't believe you got Cankry to call you an asshole. This is amazing! It does somewhat take the edge off of the existential horror of the rest of the conversation, mainly because all you can think about is that Cankry called you an asshole! Not quoting you or someone else, but outright for himself, telling you to shut up and call you an asshole. Fucking wow! The theme of the day continues to be completely stunned delight. You have no idea why these things are happening, but goddamn if they aren't improbable as all hell and amazing anyway. You suppose that you can manage that you can work with Cankry to make things better. You can process your own feelings in your own time and work hard to not burn yourself out. You're no good to anyone that way, including you. You settle into that idea and decide to simply stay here. Dave is off with Rose, and he knows where you are. If he wants you, then you're sure that he'll come and find you. As Solix hands you back your palm husk, you decide to go with that. Earth Dave has a lot of questions about things, understandably so. You try to answer what you can, giving him information about this ship and about how spaceships in general work. He has all kinds of questions, like, do people ever get out of the ship by mistake? What happens to someone when they're exposed to space? What kind of medical tech do you have here? After all, from his point of view, Equius tests to see that he wasn't sick went really quickly. Jane and June have lots of answers about the medical tech, and you and Solix are able to tell him about the time that Dave basically spaced himself before. Earth Dave is pretty shocked about that, which of course leads to the whole backstory of that whole situation.
Do you have any science people I can talk to?
Earth Dave finally asks.
We're all science people,
Hal replies.
Motherfucker, you are an engineer,
June accuses him.
Jade, the human girl with the long black hair as is Aradia, the girl dressed like we are.
You explain, gesturing at you and Solix in your formal sailor outfits.
Cool. Laters,
Earth Dave says and bails, leaving the argument about engineering versus science behind him. Cankry's right, you are an asshole, Solix says with a grin.
Rude,
you tut and slide into Earth Dave's now empty chair.
You didn't think to mention that unless his science questions are to do with plants, bones, or rocks, he's basically out of luck?
Solix points out.
It didn't occur to me,
you say innocently. Solix rolls his eyes, but then leans over to rest his head on your knee. You gently run your claws through his hair and feel really goddamn grateful that both he and Dave are alive and well. Having nearly lost that, you're going to appreciate the shit out of it now that you have it back. You're pretty tired out, physically and emotionally, and it seems like Solix is as well. Time slides past you all syrupy. People get up and change seats in the area around you. Jake joins you for a bit. Hal leaves to go hang out with Equius, to much teasing from everyone. Gamzee steals June's chair when she gets up one time and stretches his long legs out as he slides down in the chair to catch a little bit of sleep. You're kind of dozing too when Rose comes back in to ask how many people want to eat, because it seems her dad is cooking for everyone possible. You're sleepy enough to not care much about the details of what's being made, but to very firmly sign yourself up as someone interested in eating that meal, because Mr. Egbert's food is fucking godly. You're very sure you weren't sleeping, but at the same time, when you're given a gentle shake, you can't quite explain away the furniture imprints on your cheek or the slight hint of drool on the cushion that cradled your face. You definitely weren't sleeping. Definitely not. Getting to your feet, you follow the others to the dining hall in the quarantine area of the ship. You're sure there are other places that people can eat if they want something private, but it's not as if you need to share the space with a whole bunch of other sailors. It's just your group. Of course, you wouldn't know that it's just your group eating if you judged from the amount of food on the table. Mr. Egbert made all of this food? You say in wonder. Fuck yes, I could eat myself into a coma on this. Solix hisses in barely restrained delight. It's a wonder he's not throwing himself bodily at the table. I'm going to go see if they need help bringing anything in. You tell Solix, who eagerly sits down and looks at everything spread out over the table. As you walk off, leaving other people to sit down, you realize you're not fully sure where the kitchens are. You're searching for the way in when you come across Earth Dave, Jade, and Aradia in the hallway together. They look like they're talking, but they all stop when you come around the corner. Maybe they thought you might be Dave. Everyone's a bit hyper-aware of where he is today. Obviously. Oh, hey, most of the food is out. I was just trying to figure out which way the kitchen was in case they needed any help. You say to them. It's on the other side of that wall, but the door into it is through the other corridor. Aradia explains, pointing at the wall to your left. Ah, shit. You mutter. You're about to go when Jade calls out to you. Carcat? You've talked to Dave. Does he seem like himself? How do you mean? Like, psychologically? You ask, not really sure what she's asking. She wasn't asking how he was, so it's a weird way to word that question if that's what she means. Maybe? Does he seem like himself? Obviously he's shaken up and traumatized. I'm familiar with that. I've been there for his nightmares. Jade says. Again, it's not really clear what she means. It's hard to say. Dave's pretty good at pretending that he's handling things when he's not, so I'm sure he's faking a lot of it. As awful as it sounds, I think he's pretty used to cutting off horrible things in his mind and going on around them as if they're not there. It's not exactly the first time a lot of this has happened to him. He's understandably tense about the medical stuff and touching him where he's hurt or... Yeah. You know how Dave deals with that kind of thing better than I do. You admit. We're all good at that. It's part of the job. Aradia says, and she sounds a little annoyed that she has to say it, but you don't know why that would be. It's not as if she's unaware that Dave and Jade used to date. She's never been weird about it. You're not weird about it. You're glad that you've got people with more Dave experience around to help. Yeah, you're right. He's always been like this, and actually that's really sad, but I don't think there's anything to worry about. Jade says in a reasonable tone of voice. Let's eat, Aradia suggests, and walks past you back toward the tables. Jade follows her, which leaves you behind with Earth Dave. Did I miss something? You ask him, switching to Spanish since it's just the two of you now. I'm just worried about Dave, he says carefully. Everyone is, but he's going to see his therapist, and he has everyone here supporting him. It's obviously not easy, and it's not like you get over something like that completely, but he's safe now. He's safe and alive somehow, which is honestly a miracle, you say, grateful and relieved all over again. Yeah, Earth Dave says quietly. Grab a seat. I think I need to find Dave. I'm trying to be calm for his sake, but I'm getting choked up about him being alive all over again. Sorry. You excuse yourself and hastily leave, following the directions that Aradia gave you. You find the kitchen easily now that you know where you're going. It's clearly set up with the expectation of a good number of people cooking in here, since this place was meant to support a whole quarantine area of sailors eating at the same time. As it is, Mr. Egbert and a few of his kids are rushing around cooking this and that with plenty of space to spare. Originally, you were coming in here to offer to help bring things out or set the table up, but what you really want is to see Dave. As such, you're going to slip past everyone to where Dave is standing at a stove, carefully stirring some sauce in a pot. "Hey," you say gently, your plump biscuit aching with love at just seeing him. He looks at you out of the corner of his black and red eye. He blinks as he looks back at the pot for a moment, his pale eyelashes fluttering with the movement. How many little details about him would you have lost if he hadn't come back? How many tiny things would have been obliterated in the mental churn of memory? You feel obligated to appreciate each little one right now and forever from this moment on.
"Hey, I have no idea if this is ready yet. Dad just put me here," Dave tells you quietly, like it's a secret.
"It doesn't hurt your fingers stirring it like that, does it?" you ask worriedly. Dave's fingertips are looking pretty red. The heat is probably not doing him any favors.
"It's fine if I hold it right. Dad said I wasn't allowed to fry anything," he explains.
You nod. This makes sense. You should say something. "Fuck me, I'm so in love with you and how you're alive," you blurt out. Dave seems to consider this, and then looks at you again before solemnly saying,
"That's kinda gay, man."
"I considered a lot what the rest of my life was going to be like without you and your witty insights like that. I'm really happy that I have this instead." You sigh, too happy to actually be annoyed.
I wanted to come back to this,"
Dave says, and it sounds like saying that was difficult for him. You want to hug him, to touch him at all, to kiss him even, and say that he did make it back here somehow, and he's okay. This isn't about you, though. It's about him. "I also came here to offer to help take things out for you, not just swoon pathetically in your direction? Distract you from cooking."
"Ask Dad, I guess. I'm not even sure what I'm doing right now. He kinda just gave me this to do,"
Dave admits. You do go and see Mr. Egbert, who is definitely aware of you coming in the kitchen to flirt with his son. You get instructions on drinks and serving spoons to take out. Pretty soon, though, you get tasked with bringing Dave out into the main room to sit and eat dinner with everyone else. It's a little hard to do that when you don't know if you can touch him, so you're left to get him there through kind of wafting him with your arms and gently bullying him into moving. Dinner itself is nice. It feels normal, even if it's very clear that everyone around the table is also thinking about how strange it is that this feels like a normal dinner. The food is amazing, because of course it is, and you absolutely take advantage of being in Solix's good graces to get him to psionically pass you things that you can't reach. You get to observe Mr. Egbert and Earth Dave talking via Solix's translator. He's praising Mr. Egbert's cooking, and Mr. Egbert is thanking him and asking him if he'd mind teaching him a few things about Mexican cooking. He explains that Bro didn't pass any of that on, so he's only been able to make what he's learned from recipes and videos online. Earth Dave is immediately on board with that idea, and you get to watch his great-grandkids perk up at the idea of getting to remake a cultural link that was mostly denied to them. Your Dave is less enthused. He talks to people a good amount and clearly tries to participate, but it's obviously wearing on him. He eats a little of everything, but you guess he's just wanting to try everything rather than actually being hungry. He bails with something that was clearly meant to be an improvised excuse, except a good improvisation doesn't come.
"I need to go not be here," Dave says, and winces at the words.
What?" Solix says to that pathetic attempt to offer a polite reason to leave.
"I mean, I need to be on my own. Bye."
Dave mumbles, and with that, he's gone.
Sometimes I'm done with people, too,
Hal remarks wisely. Yeah, that's why you never deal with callers, or people in general, Solix teases him. And yet here you are talking to me. Stop it! Hal shoots back. Dinner passes. Clearly Dave is on everyone's mind, but in a way you think that people are able to focus on dinner when they're not trying to watch Dave and see how he's doing without obviously doing that. That amount of attention is probably what burnt Dave out, actually. You resolve, again, not to go and find Dave after dinner, and find yourself rewarded for the effort when he shows up in the room you'd shared before. Honestly, you'd gone here with Solix half out of habit and half hoping that Dave might show up.
So,
Dave says as he slips into the room and shuts the door behind him.
Where is your shirt?
Dave is looking at Solix, who is sitting on the bed, as shirtless as Dave has declared him to be. Laundry collection? I tossed it through the open door and then got distracted because Carcat wouldn't shut up, Solix says rudely. Hey! You protest.
Do you still have new clothes here? Like, were you still living out of here, or did you... No, wait, you said you went back to the hive, right?
Dave asks. Did you just toss your only shirt in the laundry? Are you gonna be stuck with half of your formal uniform? You ask Solix, laughing at the swift justice of karma. The wardrobe opens itself, and you're a little relieved to see that there are still clothes here, though it would have been funny if Solix had to ask someone to send him new clothes. Funny for you, at least. See, I don't have to be shirtless, Solix says tartly. Disappointing, Dave replies, his voice flat, but he's very much watching as Solix kicks his boots off and goes to unbutton the rest of his uniform. Dave's breath catches, and you think that he's reacting to Solix taking his clothes off, but no, that's the wrong kind of quiet excitement on his face.
Nice socks,
Dave says, with a slow grin spreading across his face. You look down at Solix's perfectly normal pair of black socks. There's nothing remarkable about them. Nothing except for how they're an actual pair of normal socks, as in that they are paired the way a normal person pairs their socks, and not how Solix does it. I thought you unmatched the ones he paired up when you found out that he'd put them together wrongly to annoy you, you say suspiciously. Yeah, well, I did, Solix says, and tosses the remaining half of his uniform across the room, leaving him sat on the bed in just his matching black socks and his boxers. But I figured Dave would want to be smug about his stupid prank, so I went back and did it his way. That way he had to come back and be smug at me. Oh, that's why Solix went back to his room when you were about to leave. That's what he changed last minute. That's why he was late meeting you in the hallway where you had your vision. Fuck, that's so emotionally raw that you might cry.
So that's how you did it. The power of alien hate mance pierced through the void and saved the day,
Dave says, clearly joking, but also obviously touched as well. It's not like I knew what I was going to do until it happened. I didn't know how I was going to find you and get you back. I wasn't going to turn down anything that could help, Solix admits as he picks at the seam of his right sock near the toe. It's an admission of how desperate he was starting to get. You know that, and you can see that Dave knows it.
Thanks,
Dave says softly. Solix shrugs and takes his socks off. You can see him debating on whether to throw them at Dave or not, but he decides against it. Were you coming to say goodnight, or did you want to sleep here? The touch thing seems like a problem, so I figured... You start to say.
Yeah, about that. I know it's a problem, but I really, really don't want to be on my own. I'm not sure how I'm going to make this work, but I don't want to be locked in a room alone.
Dave's voice is quiet and strained by the end of his interruption. I can't stop myself from grabbing onto you when I'm asleep, but I'll keep all my sharp horns, teeth, and claws to myself when I'm awake. I didn't mean to scare you earlier, Solix says as he pulls a generic t-shirt on. It looks like a spare one meant for going to the gym in the quarantine area.
That wasn't your fault, Dave mumbles.
I didn't say it was. I said I didn't mean to scare you. I wouldn't do it on purpose.
Solix repeats. Evidently he wants to be very clear on this.
Dave nods and disappears into the bathroom. You hear the muted sound of the shower almost immediately and relax a little. You guess that he couldn't find the words to respond to that, but clearly the message got across.
I didn't think this was going to happen,
you whisper in amazement. You were fully prepared for having to work up to minimal contact after that false start earlier. Dave clearly wants to have contact with people. You saw him leaning against Rose earlier. He was with both of you in the hallway. He put himself around people a lot today. Obviously, he's determined to get his life back. Unfortunately, the rest of his nervous system is still processing the horrors that he's recently been through. You slip around the bed and stop at Solix's side, leaning against him and wrapping your arms around him.
The sock thing was sweet,
you mumble against the clean fabric of his borrowed shirt. Wait until he gets home and sees his sock drawer, he says with quiet glee.
You two are disgustingly cute. It's the reddest, sweetest black rum ever. I'm sure our ancestors are proud of our quadrant fuckery.
You laugh. You should probably be in the middle tonight. You're not as pointy as me, Solix says, turning to rest his chin on the top of your head for a moment, after which he moves and then licks one of your round and nubby horns.
I ought to headbutt your teeth out. Don't lick me to mock my horns,
you hiss at him, which only makes the fucker laugh at you.
Asshole.
You shove Solix away and start getting ready for bed yourself. This morning feels like a lifetime ago. Putting these clothes on to go to Dave's funeral feels impossible now that you're taking them off to get in bed with him to go to sleep. You are so stupidly lucky you can hardly believe it. Solix is tapping away at his palm husk when you slide into bed. You catch a glimpse of Trollian, but all the text on the screen is yellow, so you don't know who he's talking to.
What are you doing?
You ask him, wriggling to the center of the bed and flipping your pillow about until it's how you like it. Nothing, just messaging Hal. They're getting Dave set up with a room and explaining how stuff works. The other one, I mean. We've got to find a way to make it clear which one we're talking about, Solix says thoughtfully.
I doubt that's going to go well. They're both going to say that they had the name first. One of them is right chronologically, but the other is if you're talking about this ship. What do you pick then? Pointing out our Dave's coloring or his eyesight is just picking on him being a mutant and disabled. I've been thinking Earth Dave, but I'm not sure he'd like a reminder of the place he came from that was destroyed today from his point of view. They're pretty touchy subjects,
you say unhappily. There's not an easy solution. The other one's older. Young Dave, old Dave? Solix says and types quickly on his palm husk.
Yes, age, never a sensitive subject. You're an idiot,
you snap. Oh, I'm sure he'll hate it. That's why I'm calling him Old Dave. Solix pauses and then giggles a little. Hal told him that and he says to fuck off. Hal pointed out that he's old enough to be their dad, and Dave then suggested Dave/Dilf Dave. You pull your pillow over your face and yell into it for a moment before taking it off and groaning,
Fuck, I wish for a world where I didn't know what DILF means.
Are you trying to fuck my dad, Carquette? Dave asks, apparently having just come out of the shower to hear that. You return to screaming into your pillow in frustration. By the time you're done throwing a fit about Strider nonsense, Dave has got changed for bed as well and is talking to Solix. Want everything to be how it was before, but it doesn't work like that. I don't know, is the answer, Dave says, fussing with his hair and then wincing when one of his nails snags in it. You should file those or something, Solix suggests. Our things are still in there, or your things are. Did someone bring my stuff back from Skya or what? Dave asks. I don't know, you admit. It's all kind of a blur. I'll ask tomorrow or whatever, Dave mumbles and leaves the room. You can hear him in the bathroom mumbling to himself as he tries to find a claw file in Solix's things. It'll be a little rough on human nails, but it's better than nothing. Someone must have, right? Nepeta or Gamzee? Unless his stuff was left in the truck. Did Jake and the others come back with their things? Solix asks, to a background of, okay, right, ow, fuck, ow, okay, from the other room. I remember the Carapacians bringing them out of their vehicle, but I don't remember if they had their stuff too. They didn't have their bags on their bodies, but they may have been on the truck. All I was thinking about was how they were and where Dave was. You tell him. Your whole memory of that event is so smeared by terror and pain that you can't remember the details at all. That probably speaks poorly of your mental health. You really need to find a therapist to talk to as well, even if it's just for a while. I'm not sure if that's better, but it hurts enough that I'm not going to do it any more than I already have, Dave announces as he returns, peering at his fingernails as he walks in. Solix drops his palm husk on the bedside table and settles down onto his side, so he's facing Dave's side of the room. You roll over as well and shuffle back against Solix so you're spooned together, and there's plenty of room for Dave to be in the bed without touching either of you. The two of you wait as Dave comes over to the bed and carefully sits down on it. Now that he's only wearing a t-shirt, you can see his arms up close and in detail. There are angry red marks on his skin in the shape of the electric pads his mother put on him. His skin is starting to bruise in a few places, with marks that look awfully like hands. You don't know if those are Mindfang's hands dragging him around, or his mother holding him still. Both are awful. Bits of his skin are burned and almost blistered, and every part of you aches to see it. Not only can you not understand how someone could hurt Dave, or how a mother could hurt her son this way, but you can't fathom hurting anyone like this. It's one thing to fight someone, or to space them in a detached sort of way, but that's up close and sustained cruelty that you can't even imagine. Dave shifts and reaches for the blanket, but as he closes his hand around it, you can see how his grip trembles. Equius said it was nerve damage. You hope it'll heal, but if it doesn't, then you will help him cope with it, no matter what it takes. Do you want the light off or on? I can do either, and KK's not going to complain. Whatever works. Solix offers gently and slides an arm around your waist. If he wasn't trying so hard to be delicate with Dave, you'd make a joke that of course Solix is happy with both options. Instead, you stay silent and let Dave set the pace of things. Right now, he looks like he almost wants to bolt out of bed and retreat. Off. The lights were always on there, so the dark's not gonna... I guess the void was dark, but it's not like I slept there or anything. Dave rambles nervously. Sure. Solix agrees and psionically flicks the light off. The room plunges into darkness, but not total darkness. There's the dim displays of the bedside clocks, a few power lights, and, of course, the eyes of both of your partners glow. You hear Dave slide down the sheets and track the red glow of his eyes. Every sound around you seems 1,000,000 times louder because of how focused you are. You hear Dave shuffle against his pillow, and hear how his breath shakes a little, even as it sounds oddly uniform, as if he's forcing it to be so. Solix yawns behind you, and you hear the way his teeth click together at the end. You think you can hear your pulse in your ears. Every part of you is tense and waiting.
I wanted to get back so bad, but I didn't think. Doesn't feel real.
Dave whispers in the dark. Solix's hand tightens on your shirt, and to your surprise, Dave reaches out across the bed to you. His faintly trembling fingertips pressing carefully to your chest. He could be feeling for your pounding blood pusher or to feel you breathing. Maybe he just needs to be physically sure that you're there, even though you know he can see you in the dark. In gentle whispers, you tell him that you love him, that he's back, he's safe, he's home. Dave slowly migrates closer to you, close enough to touch ever so slightly. His knees occasionally touch yours, ever so gently, but pull back whenever it becomes too much. In the dim light of the room, you can just make out Dave's fingertips touching Solix's as his arm cushions your head and Dave's wraps around his own pillow. Both of these points of contact are made and taken away as Dave silently shifts between what he wants and what he can cope with. Somewhere between the exhaustion of the day and the comfort of being between Solix and Dave, you fall asleep. You open your eyes and look around you. For a few hazy moments, you don't realize where you are. The world around you is strange. Everything looks wrong in a way that you can't put your finger on. Unreal like a video game. Of course, when you see the dinosaurs on plinths, you work out just where you are. It's Aradia's museum. You're dreaming. Looking down at yourself, you see that you're sitting on a red vinyl booth seat, but it's not quite like the ones in your ice cream parlor. The theme must have merged with Aradia's or something. When you stand up, there's an alarming cracking sound that makes you jerk away and spin around to see what happened. You stare in confusion at the seat. The red vinyl has cracked apart like a spiderweb of broken glass, fragments of perished red plasticky material fracturing away. Hesitantly you touch it, and find that it breaks under the lightest touch. It's completely perished. That's so odd, but again, it's gotta be your themed dream and Aradia's merging. That means she must be around here somewhere, so stop destroying furniture and find her. You start walking, eyeing the exhibits as you do so. The dinosaur skeleton was at the edge of the area that you're in. This part seems to be more of a science and engineering part of the museum, which isn't weird given that you've seen a history of space travel section here before. You look over a Tesla coil and hear the hum of electricity running over it. You pass by a diagram of human anatomy over several layers, only to stop and go back when one of them appears to be showing the structural makeup of an ice cream cone. All of the science becomes entirely ice cream-based, to increasing levels of absurdity. You know that if you keep going, you're going to run into your awful ice cream attendants. Aradia's distant voice is the one thing that encourages you to keep going that way. You follow her voice and see that she is talking to your ice cream attendants. There's 2 of them around their little portable museum ice cream cart. One of them is slumped on the floor, leaning against the cart and ugly crying over a triple cone of ice cream. You can recognize your flavor and Solix's easily enough, though the other one is smeared on the other 2 scoops and over the indistinct facial features of the server as he sobs. You make out the word discontinued between gasping sobs and a mouthful of ice cream.
Gee, introspection for morons time. What might this be referencing? Perhaps how you thought Dave was dead and now he's not, making you really emotional about that? Congratulations! God fucking damn it, your subconscious is stupid as all hell.
What does that mean? Aradia demands through clenched teeth. We're out of stock. It's not being made. It's discontinued. The attendant, who isn't in tears, snaps at her.
What are we talking about? Also, hi Aradia. Sorry for ruining your museum with this shit again.
You apologize.
Candy apple, dark cherry ripple.
The attendant on the floor wails and then stuffs his face with ice cream as he cries some more.
That's Dave's flavor,
you explain.
I worked that out.
Aradia sighs. Like I was saying, we don't have it anymore. It's been replaced with a new flavor. The other one says tersely. What does that mean? Aradia asks him irritably. You're getting the feeling that this conversation has been going around for a while.
Sometimes the flavors change. Dave's was really sour to him for a while when he wasn't doing so hot, so if it's been replaced, it's probably a reflection of that. It became less sour after he spent more time in therapy. What's the replacement flavor?
You say, directing that last bit at the server. The new flavor is Neutron Star Sour Cherry, the attendant tells you.
Right, more sour because he's not doing so well,
you explain. Neutron Star? Aradia asks, almost in disbelief.
It's ice cream branding and a stupid dream metaphor. What do you want from me?
You groan. Aradia opens her mouth to perhaps tell you exactly what she wants from you, but she goes silent and looks around. There's a distant sound of people, their voices echoing down the corridors of the museum. It sounds like a party.
That's been ramping up for ages. I can't even get in there to sell anything. Are you wanting the new flavor or not? The attendant asks you irritably.
Now that you think of it, did you ever pay for any of these ice creams? You don't remember.
Please. You nod.
My museum doesn't have people like your ice cream thing. Gamzee's sometimes has scientists that he picked up from Dave. None of us have a party,
Aradia says slowly.
Solix, maybe? If he's not carving a hole in reality anymore, then maybe he has somewhere here too. Not that he's exactly a party person either,
you say with a shrug.
He either is or he isn't in the mood for a party,
Aradia says, one corner of her mouth pulling up in a knowing little grin.
Yeah, of course,
you mutter and roll your eyes.
It could be the other Dave,
you suggest, and Aradia makes an uncertain noise in response.
The ice cream attendant passes you a waffle cone with a single scoop of ice cream on it and says,
It's served by itself, at least for its introduction. Brand guidelines, you know?
It's not touching your flavor or Solix's right now, because of course it's not.
Aradia is wondering aloud what that party is, but you're a little too interested in your new Dave-branded ice cream to listen. It's not black like your flavor is, but it's pretty close. The darkest red possible that somehow almost looks blacker than the actual charcoal-filled ice cream that represents you. There's probably an explanation about color saturation that explains that, but you don't know enough to know what it is. The ice cream has sort of crystallized a little on the surface as it's come into contact with the warmer air, and there's a haze in the air that's just like what you get when they open those big freezers. You take an experimental lick and gasp in pain as your tongue nearly freezes to the ice cream. Fuck, how cold are they keeping this? It melts quickly against your tongue, but the super sour cherry flavor stings even more after that cold burn. You lick it again and get the familiar dark cherry notes that used to accompany Dave's candy apple flavor. It fills your mouth and you feel your blood pusher clench with emotion. It's Dave. It's still him. And yes, it's so cold and so sour, but it's still him. The dark cherry fades off of your palate reasonably quickly, leaving you with the kind of sour taste that makes you feel like your mouth might implode. Neutron star sour indeed. Actually, now that you look at it, you can see that there's flecks of edible glitter in this, very fine and previously hidden by the surface frost. Against the deep dark color of the ice cream, it looks almost like stars in space. We should go check that out. If you're done with your ice cream, of course, Aradia says teasingly. Wow, fuck you. I'm taking the ice cream with me. That's why it's in a cone, you retort. Aradia shakes her head fondly and starts walking. You catch up so you can walk at her side and leave the ice cream attendants behind. One of them is still sobbing about Dave's old flavor being gone, and the other one goes back to snapping at him to shut up. Yeah, you should talk to a professional about this soon. The two of you wander through the museum, trying to track down the faint sounds of partying. Wherever you go, it feels like it's just on the other side of the nearest wall. It's really disorienting. Could this just be noise from the Carapacians? Or all those ghosts? You wonder as you look around. You're entering an ocean exhibit. One wall is showcasing skeletons and models of sea life on Earth, and the other side is showing the same on Alternia. That same megalodon model from before is hanging from the ceiling, occasionally animating. Yeah, but a party? I'd expect more nonsense warping this place than this. Aradia answers you, waving at the exhibits as you keep walking. The further into the room you go, the deeper in the ocean the specimens around you are, although some of them are a little off. Right there is a jellyfish that's actual strawberry gelatin out of a mold with strawberry and vanilla ice cream in the body of it. Yeah, your stuff is still warping her exhibits, but there's not much evidence of anyone else doing that. Okay, but something is going on,
you say, gesturing with your ice cream cone at the place around you. It's melting a little bit down the side, actually. You should get that.
Something definitely feels different,
Aradia murmurs. You pause, tongue just about to chase the melting drop of ice cream, but instead you have to respond, "Everything's different now, isn't it?"
Everyone being able to see and hear ghosts? Yeah, that's different, and...
A bolt of pain lances up your arm and through your hand, accompanied by a loud zap and a flash of light. "Motherfucker!" you screech, flailing your arm in pain and launching your ice cream across the room and against the glass of an exhibit on crabs of Earth and Alternia.
"Are you okay? What happened?"
Aradia asks in alarm. With your hand still shaking, you look down at your arm and see a red mark from the base of your thumb. It streaks up your forearm like a lightning strike, and you can even see a slight crackle of electricity at your thumb joint.
"The ice cream melted onto my hand and... Okay, yeah. Dave flavor gets Dave issues if it's abandoned. Got it. Fuck, that hurt,"
you hiss. You suck the still sparking dark cherry smear off of your hand, and the pain fades, along with the mark. You don't even know if that's how it felt for Dave, but your imagination is clearly pretty vivid.
Ouch. That looks a little better. This is probably why they don't let you wander around real museums with ice cream. I mean, you throwing it at the case, not getting electrocuted. I don't think that part is a common problem,"
Aradia says, waving her hand at the glass case that now has a long smear of ice cream and a sad broken cone on the floor.
"Yeah, that's a little niche. I'll imagine some custodial droids to clean the place up, I guess,"
you mutter. You flex your arm and rub at the still tingling skin. As you do so, the noise of the distant party and voices grow louder. At the end of the long room, at the deepest part of the ocean exhibit, is a large archway. Above the arch, in twinkling letters, is "The Deepest Abyss." And through the arch? Well, through it is total darkness.
"I think it's coming from..."
Aradia starts.
"Shut the fuck up! Have you never seen a horror movie?"
You snarl at her. This couldn't be more obvious. Aradia purses her lips in irritation and narrows her eyes at you.
"Well, okay, Carcat, if you don't want to go in there, I guess we can split up,"
she declares loudly.
"What is wrong with you?"
you hiss.
"I'll just go by myself into this ominous dark room where I can hear a mysterious sound,"
Aradia continues, flipping her hair over her shoulder and goddamn skipping towards certain doom.
"Aradia!"
you yelp and hurry after her.
"Don't worry, Carcat, what could possibly happen?"
she adds with cheerful malice.
"I hate you, I hate you, I hate you!"
you chant and grab onto her arm, practically gluing yourself to her side out of fear.
"I thought you might change your mind,"
Aradia says brightly and pulls you through the archway with her. You're tensed up with fearful anticipation as you walk into the dark room. The room is dark, impossibly so, except for 2 points of light. The first is far above you, whirling around on whatever high-up ceiling this place has in a fast little circle. The second you can just catch sight of below you, flitting in and out of view of the floor? You're wondering how you can see through only part of the floor when you clothesline yourself on the balcony railing. Beyond that railing, the floor falls away below you, and you can see the same distant dot of light circling around and around. The room feels heavy, as if something impossibly big is here in the darkness. You can still hear the muted sounds of partying, and though it's clearly here, it also sounds like it's obscured somehow.
Carcat, look,"
Aradia whispers. You look at her and see that she's faintly glowing white, like Damara's ghost does, like Signless does, and like you currently are as well. What's more than that is you can see how her long hair is shifting over her shoulders and hanging away from her face. Her clothes and yours are as well, as if gravity is pulling in front of you instead of under your feet. Whatever is pulling you is beyond the balcony railing, out in the impossible dark.
We should go,
you whisper, but Aradia is not going to see sense now after a lifetime of never doing that, is she? Music starts out of nowhere, startling you nearly out of your skin in fright. High-speed violin and the instant and suddenly present cheers and applause of a million voices. At once, the room lights up in fractured and swirling slices. Every shard of light unfolding, connecting, and colliding with everything else as it spins around a dark sphere of nothing. You try to stare at a bit as it speeds past, but as you try to understand how it works in space, you feel your think sponge gibbering and whining at the impossibility. Space shouldn't fold in and out like that. No wonder it always sounded like the party was just on the other side of the wall. The dimensions of this thing don't make enough sense for your actual senses to understand them.
It's only when you stop trying to look and make sense of what you're seeing that you actually see and understand it. It's fragments of bars with back rooms, dance floors, locker rooms, all of them merging into and out of each other. In each one are people. People cheering and singing, drinking, dancing, playing music. Of course, they're all playing the exact same song. It could be any one man singing as these shards of spaces swirl around the dark heart in the center of this cacophony of the senses. It could be one of them, or all, or both. All you can do is watch. You gasp as the woman sings, not because of what she's singing, but because of who you just saw. A large fragment of space sails past you without you merging into it. The room in it warps, but you recognize it anyway. It's the bar on your ship. It's Tortuga. Before you can get a better look, it's off again in the rest of its orbit. Dave! You gasp, pointing at a shard going past. It's not your Dave, or even the new one on your ship. It's the one in between them, Dave's uncle. And there's his mother, too. She sat at a table downing a glass of something strong as her son stands on another table with his arm around another sailor as they sing and stamp out the beat with their boots. More fragments of space whirl past, merging into one another over and over, so you're left with fewer and fewer insane planes of space, but they're becoming bigger, like the rings around a planet forming tighter and tighter. Aradia points, and your eyes widen to see familiar faces. Mituna sat on a table singing. His eyes are pitch black for the second you see them before he closes them from laughing so hard. He's sitting with Vriska, and as if she can sense you looking, she turns around on the red vinyl seat to look at you. For a moment, her eyes are black too, until it clears from her multi-pupiled eye. She stares at you, drink in hand forgotten, but before she can do or say anything, she's out of your sight once more. What slides back into your vision is what used to be Tortuga and is now that and who knows how many other places mushed together. With the planes of space being bigger, you can see them for longer, and you recognize faces here, too. These ones you've only seen in Dr. Lalonde's reports and in the portraits of dead sailors on the wall in Tortuga. You know the woman singing. It's Sillum. The clown that she's hanging off of is Marvis, and that's Dave's mentor Sam to the side as well. Sillum laughs drunkenly and falls off the table as Marvis pushes her aside to sing dramatically. Your breath catches to see Fawzer catch her and laugh, singing along with his pitch-black eyes narrowed in joy. Marvis croons into a microphone that he pulled out of who knows where. Wow, fuck, they curse like... You start. Sailors, Aradia whispers. Well, yeah, that was the reference I was making, you say, annoyed at having your joke taken. No, they're all, or almost all, sailors. These aren't all recently dead, they're... Aradia whispers in horror. Tortuga spins away from you, and you watch as what looks like some fast food place that Vriska and Mituna are in merges into another plane. Mituna is lost to the same gleeful frenzy that everyone else is in, but Vriska is staring out at you with her one clear eye. She pushes through the crowd, trying to make her way to the edge closest to you, but of course, everything rotates away. What is this? You murmur. Everything seems to be speeding up. It's hard to tell because everything is so dark, but you swear the planes of merged space are going faster. There's Vriska again, rushing to the edge and gone once more. It shouldn't be happening. This isn't what's supposed to happen, Aradia says under her breath. You stare up at whatever passes for a ceiling here. The spotlight of light is whizzing around in faster and faster circles. It's speeding up as the song builds to its crescendo. Vriska tries to leap from the space she's into you, but her hand clips the barrier on the balcony at eye-watering speed. She falls back and is whisked away in the blink of an eye. Planes of space around the center merge into one ring, Tortuga's decoration copy-pasting itself over the fabric of the other locations. I don't think we should be here, you choke out, watching Vriska open her eyes, which are both black again as she then melts into the crowd. We should go, Aradia agrees and drags you backwards. The two of you have to fight the extreme gravity pulling you towards whatever that is in the center as behind you the singing goes on louder and louder. You make it out of the archway just in time to escape a blast of something, not in time to avoid being tossed down the small stairway up to the archway and then landing on your head.
You flail awake with a yell. Your elbow connects with something that makes a noise of pain and then a crash. It's several seconds of terrified breathing before you manage to process the dim shapes of your empty bed and the room in quarantine.
What the fuck was that for?
Solix wheezes, dragging himself upright from the floor, one hand on his side. That's a good question.